I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
Well, we're excited today to have the folks from COVA, the Chillicothe Outdoor Volleyball Association. Yeah, I like that you held that up. You can't see it on the podcast, but no Brett was holding it out there so I could see it. I like it. But I'm excited. This is actually, I think, the most intentional, biggest group that we've ever had. We've had 3 or 4 on before, but it was because...
Yeah, anytime the Civic Theater shows up.
Yeah, like that's true.
Shows up,
but thanks for coming in. I'll let you all introduce yourself, and then we'll just kind of work through the process of the podcast here. So,
I'm Brett Reitzel, founder, I guess, of COVA in 1989.
All right.
Corey Lambert, I'd call myself the philanthropy director. Started circa 2001 or 2.
I'm Paul Tenedo, and I started with Brett in 89, kind of started the whole thing.
My name is Chad Minnie, and I think I started about 91, 92, I think. I think end of 91, beginning of 92. So.
Young gun.
The young gun, that's right.
I got in early, though.
And so for folks that don't know COVA, tell us a little bit about how it started and why it started, I guess, is the biggest thing.
Okay. Well, we'll drop back to the early 80s. My sister was going to Ohio State, and she called me up and said, you need to come watch my new boyfriend, play volleyball. And me being a knucklehead 20-year-old, whatever I was, said, that's a girl sport. And so I went with her. I love her. So we traveled to Ball State, and I watched these guys play. My brother-in-law played for Ohio State. And man, was I hooked, because the athleticism and the early 80s, volleyball was really starting to pick up. So I followed him and watched them play. And in 1983, they had a Final Four at Ohio State at St. John's Arena. And it was a big deal. And I think they finished third. Pepperdine, UCLA, and Penn State were the other 3 teams in the Final Four. But anyway, from there, I brought it back to Chillicothe. I wanted to play volleyball. And I was looking for anywhere in any way to play. So the YMCA had a co-ed league. So I got in that and started playing, and then I started bugging people like Paul, and I'm going, come on, you got to play, man. And I got a lot of resistance at first. But eventually everybody picked in, these friends of mine, and we all started playing. And we took it outdoors. There was one court outdoors beside the pool, city pool, and it had wood chips.
Yeah.
That wasn't sand. It was wooden chips. So it's kind of hard to dive. You come up bloody.
Yeah.
But me donated those chips, so that's why they were there.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well, that's right.
It's true story.
Yeah. But we talked, Gus Comstock, was it Gus?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was the city parks and rec director, and we talked him into dumping some sand there. And we held one tournament, I think, that year, invited some people around. We had 6, 7, 8 teams, ran off a tournament. And then the next year we added another court, right a few feet away. And then the year after that, I talked to Mr. Comstock into, there used to be the skating rink where in the wintertime, they would just pour water into where the current volleyball sand courts are. And he said, let's put 3 courts over there. So we did. And he dumped the sand. We got the sand donated from River Sand Company over there off of 35. But anyway, we got 3 courts. We got a lot of people playing. The next year we added 3 more courts. So, and the first year was 1989. So early 90s, it was really starting to take off. And I think by 95, we had around 60 people playing on every Thursday night in an A and a B league. And it was tremendous. And we'd have 5 or 6 tournaments every summer on Saturdays, and they would last all day. And
Good times.
Yeah, it was a lot of good times, and we were all young and somewhat athletic back then. So,
So now you're just old and athletic? Is that what it is?
no, I'm old and feeble. But no, it.
I mean, some people still can touch their toes in the air.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take that.
Paul, were you around at the beginning of this whole thing too? Like, were you helping?
Yes, yeah. So he bugged me consistently for a couple of years to play volleyball, and I kind of resisted. I rather played basketball, and finally I started playing, and I got hooked, and just kind of learned about the game. I had my sister; she lived in California, Manhattan Beach, and at the time there was 2-man volleyball on I think it was Prime Network, and you couldn't get it unless you had like one of those big dishes, those big like huge dishes. And so she would tape all these volleyball matches on VHS and send them to me, and I would watch them and I'd just study them and learn it, and so that's how I got kind of started on it.
Yeah.
And the '84 Olympics too, that really pulled me in even farther.
Yeah.
I mean, watching that team play indoors, it was in LA. The Olympics were in Los Angeles, and the indoor team was phenomenal. Karch Karai, I don't know if you're familiar with that name, but he was on that team, and man, that really.
Dogs have entered the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every once in a while, the
love
dogs know
volleyball,
that they're
too.
down. We're down here and just start throwing things around. I think for any person growing up in the '80s, you probably do know the name Karch Karai. I mean, he was definitely the most recognizable volleyball player that you can think of at that time.
Game.
So, huh?
He had the Nintendo game.
Oh yeah, that's right. And so from there, obviously now you guys have the spot out of town. Is that at your place?
No, in the wintertime, they go out of town. They play indoors.
Okay.
And then summer or warmer weather, then it's at my place.
And then how many courts do you have at your place?
I just have two.
Two.
But they're lit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean lit, but I mean, they're lit.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah,
They are lit.
there's lighting.
You guys are pretty hip on the vernacular here. I like it. So,
Well, he put in drainage too. I mean, they are sweet courts, white sand. I mean, it's nice.
well, and I hear of a lot of people that go out there. How many people do you get during the summer?
Usually there's probably around 18 and 20 people out there playing.
So every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consistently, yeah.
And so, Corey, where does somebody like you come in? You said you were the philanthropy director, and I want to get into some of that a little bit ago because I happened to be out last, I guess, November, I think, when you went out and passed checks out and had a good time. And so I want to make sure that we talk about that at some point in time because I think that's one of the underrated things that COVA does is really be a resource for the community to grow and thrive and do good things. So how did that get started, I guess?
Well, my volleyball came from, I played club volleyball when I was in college. We had a startup team. And then when I came to Chillicothe in 2001, I was pretty hooked still with volleyball and wanted to keep playing. So joined these guys. I coached high school golf for Chillicothe for 2 years. And started a golf outing to raise funds for the golf program. And that transformed into, still always wanting to give back to be a giver, do good things for the community. So I had said something to some of the guys back when we first started, I'll start a golf outing at some point to help us raise funds and do something for the community, not knowing really where that would take us at the time. I can't remember even how it came to fruition that Chad and I linked up for the very first time and said, let's start a golf outing and go from there and really make it happen.
Yeah, we had a few that was just players only, but there was only like 6 or 8 of us. So once we got that kind of started, and he and I started talking, he's like, let's go full bore and let's try to make it big and raise money for good things. And it's kind of like put our heads together and made it happen. 15 years strong.
It's been a huge tournament, the biggest one at the JC's every summer as far as participants.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I guess, a fundraiser for COVA for able to do what we do. But I mean, you tell them where all the things we do.
Yeah, the fun
with that golf outing.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the history here for several hours probably. But when we first started it, we wanted to raise and I obviously being philanthropy, I kind of had this. Chad knows I was kind of a little firm with this. Like, we're giving most of this away. We're not going to keep too much of this for ourselves. So at first, some of us were playing USVBA, and so we took a little bit of the money to sponsor some of our limited shirts and playing some of the weekends. But quickly evolved. We had a lot of, I forget what our coaching situation was when we first started. But we, of course, wanted to give, being a volleyball organization, we wanted to give to the local community. And, of course, the girls' volleyball programs. And I forget if we had one or two folks coaching when we first started. But we said right off the bat, we will give money to any of the, we first, I think, gave to every local team at the high school volleyball level. And then we started giving money to whoever was coaching in the COVA organization to those schools to kind of promote that. And then I'm former military, so I really wanted to make a memorial type thing and certainly give some funds to a military charity. So we had started out originally with the Intrepid Heroes Fund in year one and maybe even year two, and then switched over to the Fisher House Foundation, which has been our staple military charity because they're such a high rated A+ charity that we've given to ever since year two. Continue to give, to the guys coaching. And then we also wanted to give to families in need. So that turned into holiday giving every year. Found our first family. So this all started in 2009. Got our first family that winter for Christmas. It was a single mom of a few kids. And really touching situation. We've had a lot of experiences over the years for the families that we've given to, and then that has evolved a little bit more in the last few years, which we'll fast forward to in a little bit. Talk about that.
Yeah, what Corey fails to mention is that he dresses up like Santa Claus.
Yes, he does,
and it is really good. And these kids, they just light up. Of course, some of them are kind of shy though, but they warm up to him. But it's pretty impressive.
Well, we get a list. Corey gets a list ahead of time, and everybody donates. What's on the list. You try to go out and buy it for those kids. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I guess I would say, to me, that's the coolest part of this thing. I mean, I love we talked before we started, 35 years of any organization is pretty amazing. But the fact that you've evolved it from just a bunch of people playing outdoor volleyball together to something that I think transcends that. It's giving to local volleyball programs. It's helping kids in need and families in need in Christmas and helping veterans. I mean, there's a lot of facets to this that I think a lot of people don't understand. And they probably just think I think it might have a more higher profile now because of Santa in the Streets and your participation with that. But I think honestly, you guys have created something that's just become a community stalwart at this part.
Being the old guy that kind of got things rolling, I really like sitting back now and watching, because I coached for 20 years. Paul's still coaching, I think. Chad coached some. Corey's coached. All the people who've come through COVA and who are now coaching and giving back and teaching kids the game, they're still growing the game that we all love. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I think, for somebody like you that started out where you just got a phone call from your sister saying, hey, come watch this, to really watch all this evolve now has to be pretty gratifying for you, right?
Yep. Thanks, Kim. Love you.
You owe her big, right?
I do. I told her to tune into this.
So what are some other aspects of the history, I guess, that we haven't touched on so far, things that you've been able to do, volleyball wise, or ways that you've grown the club to level that it's at, of recent years?
We started out, it was pretty much just guys, but girls, it's huge. Volleyball, women's volleyball is huge in Ohio. So we had to tap into that. So we got them playing, some girls that we knew that played high school, and there's more of them playing now. And they have, don't they have a traveling team now that goes out in tournaments?
I think at one time they did. Some of the girls did.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Corey mentioned that USVBA, that's United States Volleyball Association, and there's tournaments, just a ton of tournaments in Ohio, usually in the bigger cities.
And that's an adult league. That's
it's an adult league, and that's not the high school age kids, but I don't know.
Well, of course, you have a lot of AAU kids in our area. We have several clubs in our area. And I think, that's the really girls volleyball here at this level is very good in this community.
Very good.
We have teams that go deep into the regionals and even the state on a pretty regular basis. Yeah. We're still waiting for that state title again, but
thanks to some of our coaches that we have, get them going there. So.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Talk about Mike, you mentioned the sand in the streets. I thought that was interesting where that came to fruition with Aubrey, because tell us a little bit about that background and why she came to even that concept.
Aubrey Hernstein and Tiffany Baldwin were the ones that started that Sand in the Streets. They found an article or something about, we held a tournament downtown in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. Barry Howbow dumped the sand for us. I remember that. I remember going to meetings with the city, the mayor, Joe Sulzer, and I asked him, I said, can we do this? And I mean, you had to get the permits and block off the streets and whatnot. And anyway, we had a really cool tournament. And we only had one court. And we did a couple more. We did one out by Kroger's.
I thought we did two downtown.
It was two.
Yeah, there's two downtown, one at Western Avenue Kroger.
Patrick's Pub.
One at Patrick's Pub, and then one behind Christopher Inn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had sand trucked in, and they would just dump it. And then we would, manpower, we would take these rakes and, rake it all out, put the lines up, put the net up. And then we'd be just exhausted to play, but we'd play anyway. But we were at a disadvantage. But
not that exhausted, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
Yeah,
a lot of work.
But they found that article or something, and they got a hold. I don't know who they got a hold of first. Maybe Paul. Yeah. I don't know. But Aubrey said, can we got to do this, and we can make this big. And those two have just taken this thing and ran with it, and I feel fortunate to be a part of it, and help out and. Yeah, it's really cool downtown. I know you guys have been there every year and enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's impressive.
And I think it's become a cultural event for our community. Yeah. I mean, there's nobody else doing this downtown in their cities. Yeah. For one, and then I think for two, it's in the heart, in the shadow of the courthouse. It's in the heart of the town.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would think, man, what are you shutting down your heart of your town for? A full day for? Well, when you see that not only can you get all the sand down on one day, you can get it down, in one morning, get it up again in one morning. I think that's, to me, the most amazing part of it is I can leave there at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock on Saturday night, come back 10, 15 hours later, and it's all gone. And that's fascinating to me.
Kudos to Luke Feeney and the city of Chillicothe, Paul Corcoran, because they just tear it up. I mean, they, like you said, Mike, they come in and get it all ready. One of our COVA members, Clint Roush, brings his skid steer in and he levels everything, and we measure everything, the depth, the width, everything to make sure it's safe. And for all the players, we have a lot of out of town players coming, and they've all enjoyed it. We've got a lot of great feedback from big city guys that come down and take the money.
Well, from a guy who lives on the block that it happens on, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a block away. We walk up and check it out. And that same day in the morning, I had hosted a race here, and the guys were coming from Cincinnati, and they were like, "What is going on downtown?" I'm like, "It's a volleyball tournament," and so they even checked it out on their way out of town. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, every year I hear from people that say, we came to downtown to do something else that day. We decided that we were just going to go to that thing and hang out all day. We'll come back and go to Grandpa Joe's or wherever they were going to go, right. Or they do both and they still want to come back,
Yeah. So, Grandpa Joe's is a destination place.
It really is. I'm telling you.
Give that plug.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's amazing. I actually was, when Grandpa Joe's was on Water Street, we did a chocolate walk one year and people came down and they had actually brought their thing to do with their granddaughter was to go to candy shops. So they heard about the candy shop. So they came down and they were like, then you had this chocolate walk. So we want to come back and go to the chocolate walk. And they're like, so do you do it like every quarter? And we're like, no, we don't do it every quarter. We do it once a year. They're like, oh boy, we'd come down every quarter if you did one. I was like, you start thinking, but it's amazing. That weekend has become a weekend that people will say, I got to be there in Chillicothe to do that. And, I know that you're saying that, and I agree with you that the city and the workers do a lot of that work there. But I mean, you guys are announcing, you guys are, helping out with the volunteer effort to do things, to me, that's a big part of it too.
Yeah. Managing it for that day. And Paul he does a phenomenal job. He's always been the tournament director, and he has to set up the brackets, and that can be stressful.
Yeah.
And you've got, what do we got? 30 some teams.
Yeah. We've done tournaments before, but not on this scale. So, but I knew we could pull it off, and we did a pretty good job.
You have to stay on top of it because you're under the clock.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't waste time, and the court managers are awesome. We have a meeting prior, and everybody knows their responsibilities and their job duties, and it's a 12-hour, maybe even longer than that. I don't know.
In downtown Chillicothe, supplying volunteers to pick up trash and do everything like that. I mean, obviously that's a big part of it too.
It's really cool to see everybody pull together.
Yeah, I mean, it's a community effort, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Which I think which is pretty amazing to think about. So if I'm somebody that's out there and I hear this podcast and I go, you know what, man, this summer I'm going to make an effort to be a part. What do I do?
You got to get a hold of somebody. Before, when we played at the park,
you just show up.
Yeah, you just show up and play. But now you kind of almost have to get vetted in a way. But if you know somebody, yeah, absolutely.
Well, especially because with 2 courts out at your place, 60 people show up. It's going to be a little hard to get everybody on there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting to be able to give it a shot. I used to play when I grew up in Sandusky. We'd go to Cedar Point Beach and play all the time when I was like 18, 19. But that was a long time ago. So I don't know. I don't think I have it anymore. So.
Should try to play in the recreation division at Sand and Streets.
Maybe we will. I have to get some other folks that are a lot better than me. Let's put it that way. But so do you all still play? You don't. No. You guys don't play. Paul and Brett,
I still kind of do. I'm trying to slightly retire. I've been doing it for 33 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up because I'm thinking about actually playing tomorrow night for the first time in 2 or 3 years. I got sucked into helping out with the Unioto JV club volleyball team. And we're going to be kicking off in the next 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm like, I better get back on the court and remember how the sport actually works if I'm going to provide any value to these kids whatsoever.
Yeah.
So,
well, I imagine when you started this thing, girls volleyball was fairly big still, but the boys volleyball around here was not even a thought in anybody's mind. Now we have a pretty established program at Chillicothe. You have Unioto starting. I mean, it seems like that's a growing part of volleyball inside of Valley is growing the boys programs.
Yeah, it's a varsity sport now in the state of Ohio.
Yeah. So back when we started playing, Dina Boys had a club team, and Laura Smith coached the team. Vic Cleary, DJ Valentine,
Brent
Jividen. There's a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And they got together and they played other schools that had club teams. So that was kind of like the first time I've ever heard of it. And then I remember when we were playing in COVA, some of the younger kids would come down and they wanted to play high school. Remember, they had a petition signed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how far they got with that, but they wanted a club team at Chillicothe, but that never happened. But I
took it to the administration early 90s. Me and Todd Bennett, we had all the signatures and we got shot down, but we tried. And we went back again and tried. And anyway, we planted a seed. And 20 years later, Andrew Vitito got the boys team started.
Yeah, which is doing a fantastic job. And then Unioto has a team and Westfall has a team.
Okay.
So it's growing for sure.
Yeah. I think it's got to be pretty gratifying for all of you to be able to see the growth of volleyball in the community and to see it catch on like it has. When you look at Sand in the Streets, you could look at it as a passing thing, right? But it feels like it's growing every year. I know downtown Chillicothe has definitely grown to enjoy it in terms of being, a fundraiser for them as well. And I think it's just part of what, to get back to what Corey was talking about, just another way for you guys to give back to the community and to help grow the sport, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
wanted to share one thing. I did finally go through records last night for my financial keep because I am the treasurer too of this organization. at least for the philanthropy side. We've raised over $72,000 in the last 15 years.
Wow.
So that's been awesome, and we've really evolved into other things over the last few years. Started giving to kids playing, doing the girls that show livestock animals at the Ross County Fair, who are also volleyball players, and even started to give into local other efforts for the holidays. So it's been really awesome to evolve over that. You see that kind of in a sister, or not our sister organization, but another local organization, and watching like what Cigar Band does with their efforts, and to have our couple groups be able to do what we can do for this community, I think has just been pretty awesome to see.
So was last year the first time you did the bourbon raffle, or have you done it before?
No, that was the first time.
Yeah, because I didn't win.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
I'm still a little sour about that, but I can get over it. I actually sent Corey a note. I was like, "Hey, man, I forgot to even watch the night of. Did I win anything?" He's like, "Oh, I would have let you know if you did." So, but so I mean, that seemed to go pretty well too. And then you still do a golf outing for COVA?
Yep, it'll be May 18th this year. Shout out, we've had it's a well-oiled machine. I kind of say now. Chad and I have been used to doing this and he does his thing, I do my thing, and we really make it come together pretty well every year. But we've had a couple really big staple supporters, if I can mention them.
Sure.
Dr. Brian Cohen, who used to be here in Chillicothe with Adina, now obviously Ohio Health. He was like the first entity I approached a long time ago, and then second to none from him is, and probably even bigger, is Bill and Tammy Barker with Casa del Taco.
Yeah.
I coached Ryan in high school golf, and that's how that kind of came to be, an association, and they've donated lunch and dinner for us every single year. And then Classic Brands has always been a big supporter of us. Those are like our three big staples that have always been around since year one. Hernstein's been sponsoring our hole-in-one contest every year. V-Dubs, Roosters, McDonald's, they've all been we can always rely on the same core group every year, and to count on that for 15 years and not have to really make a pitch and say why, or that speaks wonderfully for what we can get done.
Yeah.
And not get too burnt out and move on to other things when it's like, oh boy, it makes it a little bit smoother. That's for sure.
Are those the only two fundraisers you've been doing, is the golf and the bourbon raffle?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only reason the bourbon raffle came to fruition this fall was because spent too much money this summer at the fair, with a lot of kids with the animals. We supported a former COVA brother who came down with an unexpected medical emergency, and really needed a lot of financial support to cover the bills, and found a couple other small things that have just popped up, whether it's because we sought it out, or folks came to us asking for just a little bit of help.
Yeah. And because of that, you're able to do the things that you're able to do. You were mentioning the growth of the Christmas giving, I guess, for lack of a better term. How has that evolved? You said you did the 1 year, and then has that grown to other families and maybe multiple families in a year?
Yeah, we've had started out with a single family that year. I think we've probably had as many as 3 families we've sponsored in 1 year. And then I think Chad had this great idea a couple of years ago about starting this whole, we always call our whole theme is COVA love for the holidays, but turning that into a downtown effort where we just go around and randomly hand out some Christmas cheer to
Spread the cheer.
It's been fun. I think this was year 3 for that.
What do you randomly hand out?
Gift cards.
Okay. I was waiting to hear that.
Yeah. Gift cards, lottery tickets 1 year, and go all over the downtown community and I would like to see that even become even bigger from what it has been, to involve more folks, because it has really drawn a little bit more towards the nightlife in a sense, which nothing wrong with that, given to the folks that support our downtown community nightlife. But, having a little bit more kids involved in a sense would be nice for our community giving. We did this year help Nate Steinbrook and the American Legion on Main Street with an effort to support community action. Nate got approached with Buckeye Designs and trying to come up with something, and he knew his resources were limited for that many kids. So we were able to help him so those kids could have a little something for that group. So everything evolves. You know, Lori Graves, who runs the and I was not even familiar with Lori Graves' efforts with the Pioneer Center every year with giving to the families of all the kids there. That was kind of awesome to be able to support her, because I know she probably is going 100 miles an hour every which way she runs in her life, and it's always probably hard to ask. So to have a new fresh supporter come in, I think Lori was really grateful for that as of last year.
And she's an ex-volleyball coach too. I mean, she coached the Southeastern, I think.
Yeah, she did
for a while. So let's talk a little bit about the future. I mean, obviously what you guys do, you know, when you started this 35 years ago, you never probably dreamed that it was going to get to this level.
I had no idea.
What do you see as the future of COVA as you move it forward? And, you know, how does it evolve from here?
We need to recruit some more younger guys and girls to kind of step into our shoes.
I will say this, and Brett's kind of, you know, he's kind of behind the scenes now, but Brian,
He's young at heart, right?
Right. Yeah. But Brian Grigsby, he kind of does the heavy lifting that Brett used to do, you know, like, you know, all the record keeping and all that kind of stuff. So, so he needs a shout out, but the future, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of winding down my whole volleyball existence. I know Brett's, he's already wound down. These guys still have a little bit of tread on their tires. So,
well, now that Chad won't be playing as much, he's going to have all this energy to help out, right?
Yes, I'll do what I can. I mean, I'm cool with catching some young guys coming in and giving them everything I know.
That's right.
I can point direction, work on skill level.
Benefit of your knowledge and expertise, right?
Yes.
We still haven't seen COVA's kids come to fruition.
That's true.
That's something that obviously needs to happen at some point. Now that's partly due to some of them not living in staying in the Chillicothe area once they leave the nest. But I'm still waiting to see some of the COVA godfathers and godmothers or whatever and their kids
children
coming back into the scene for COVA.
We've had a lot of daughters and sons, mostly daughters, go on to play. They all played high school and whatnot. Paul's 2 daughters, my daughter, Todd Bennett's 2 daughters. Just right off the bat, I was thinking of those 5, and all of them could pass. I'll tell you that. We taught them how to pass.
Yeah.
If you can't pass, you can't do anything else in volleyball.
That's right.
I'm glad you can teach it.
I couldn't do it. No.
Well, what have I missed? I feel like we've spent a good amount of time talking everything, but
I did want to give let Corey speak a little more on the Fisher House, because I had a firsthand experience with that. My stepfather, it's been 5-6 years ago. I forget what the condition it was, but we had to take him to Cincinnati, and the Fisher House put him and my mom up for about 3 to 4 days. I believe it was a heart condition, and it was wonderful. I mean, they provided everything, and very comforting for my mom, you know, and
I've always kind of equated it when I tell folks at our golf outing every year. You know, it's kind of like the Ronald McDonald House for the military is how I equate it. And I don't know if I'm speaking if that's a good, short, concise version of it, but that's what it is for the most part. You know, you at a lot of your larger military bases, they'll have a hotel, so to speak, where, you know, families can come when their service member or their child has been injured in conflict and might be undergoing long stays. I wish I knew more about some of the details of it with how long these stays can be. If you think about like at Bethesda, you know, Walter Reed and how long, and some of this Intrepid centers, you know, that's another whole area to talk about with some of the things that evolve with the military healthcare organization. It's obviously top notch and a lot of cutting edge stuff that they do. So that's always been, you know, knowing there was high rated charity, that was the number one, because there have been a few military charities when we were first starting this that were kind of called into question. So I didn't necessarily want to be, you know, politically tied to anything that, you know, other folks in our community weren't jiving with, so to speak. And they've always been very supportive of the Fisher House Foundation. You know, they've got a cool setup to where they send us flags for the pins. So every year during our golf outing, every single hole's flag is a Fisher House Foundation flag.
Oh, wow.
And they send a little support kit, to give out some door prizes and things, which is always a nice little extra to have for our outing. Speaking about this makes me think, giving shout outs and support is, our partnership with Roosters a long time ago, when it first evolved, it led into our COVA girls, who have always been a staple of supporting us. They come and volunteer their 10-hour day to help us raise funds for what we do. Do we give them a little bit of food and a little bit of beverage? Yes. But, they don't ask for anything. And these ladies over time, it used to be Roosters girls that first started this with us. And that has evolved into, Chad has done a wonderful job of always getting support for helping our event every year. And I think it's a big staple. We always have the same teams playing this outing every year. Everybody's always on a wait list. I'm always kind of humbled when people talk about how even one of my boss is always just excited for the COVA Memorial Golf outing every year and just can't wait for it. It's a highlight of a lot of people's year when it comes to a golf outing, and happy to do it.
Well, until we talked about it tonight, I knew nothing about Fisher House. I think it's tremendous. I think it's very concise what you said, first of all. You don't think about it, but especially, for older military folks who are going in for serious considerations or serious illnesses, those families need support too. And I think that's, it's great. And I had, when you can find a charity that's, very highly rated and the money's going for a good thing, you got to stick with it. And so I appreciate that effort because I think that's a really worthy thing. I can tell you, my father was in the military. He would go to the VA. He'd be there for 2 weeks at a time. My mom would have to drive to Columbia, South Carolina and back to Greenville every day. It was like an hour. And, in all honesty, it always scared me because, it's an hour drive, but my mom's not great at driving, especially at night. And, being able to have something at the site that you can, or close to the site, is very important for a lot of families,
How close are the closest Fisher houses? I know we visited, they stayed at the one in Cincinnati
Well, I would say Wright Pat is probably the closest Fisher House.
Yeah.
I wish I would have visited it at this point in time, but I haven't. I'm from the Dayton area, but I think I would assume Wright Pat is our closest one.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming in. This is this is one that I sent a note to Grigsby a while back, and I said, "Hey, how do we get these guys on here?" And he's like, "Oh, they'd love it." First of all, and I think I just threw out your name and Paul's name at first. He's like, "Oh no, you're going to have like a whole group there." Well, either way, we'll figure out how to do it. That was Marty's issue. I had to figure out for him.
We run with a pack.
That's right.
Well, I think the beauty of what you do in the story is really, it started about volleyball and it's become something bigger than all of you, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to play volleyball.
Yeah.
And like that's the beauty of the story, and that's what makes
And
it.
you just dragged Paul kicking and screaming until he didn't have.
Yeah, he was very resistant. Yeah, but I got him. I hooked him.
Yep.
Sure did.
And these guys are still vested in the sport is awesome to me. Like that they're still coaching,
Yeah.
They've retired, so to speak, from playing, but to still share their knowledge and coach. It's proud to see that when your guys are the ones who are in the fight, so to speak, and seeing what they do for our girls around here.
Yeah.
You had to see where it took a lot of us. I mean, I didn't see myself coaching, but one thing led to another. And 1994, I started coaching little kids at the Y, and then I ended up club ball for 8 or 10 years, Unioto a couple of years, and I finished up 9 years at Chillicothe. And just loved it.
Yep.
And I have so many relationships now I see those kids, and it warms my heart. And these guys can speak to, we travel around the state and we see people we know that we've intertwined with volleyball. It's called because of volleyball.
Yeah. Well, and for me, staying in the streets, when I hear the lengths that people come back from to play one weekend, they grew up here and they love it here, but they're so excited that this thing is happening here that have to be a part of it. That's a pretty big deal,
Yeah.
So
thank my brother-in-law for starting
That's right.
playing at
That's
High State. He ended up being the coach at Illinois, Big Ten Coach of the Year twice. Don Harden. I'd give him a shout out.
Yeah, that's right. Well, guys, thanks for what you're doing in the community. Not only just playing volleyball, but for what you're doing, not only for coaching and everything else, but it's so exciting to see COVA go beyond a game, because I think, it could have stayed there, could have been something that you just did for a long time, but you guys have really made it something that the whole community can be proud of. And for that, I want to thank you for coming on and spreading the news. I knew there's a lot about this that we probably didn't even get to. So, but we appreciate you, and we thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mike, Marty.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
It feels a little strange, but I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it all